As a worker, being aware of the hazards you come in contact with is paramount to your job. This video will discuss one of the most hazardous circumstances of the workplace today. This video can be used as a basic training tool for workers in the manufacturing and construction industries. The contents of this video will be fall hazard facts, OSHA standards, general industry requirements, construction industry requirements, types of fall protection, the personal fall arrest system, training. Falls from heights are one of the leading causes of fatalities. According to the United States Department of Labor, falls account for 8% of all occupational fatalities, and between 150 and 200 workers are killed each year in the construction industry as a result of falls. Falls are the leading cause of death in the construction industry. Although there are a variety of OSHA standards covering general industry and the construction industry, this program will highlight CFR 1910 Subpart D for general industry and CFR 1926 Subpart M for the construction industry. Anytime an employee is working 4 feet above a lower level, fall protection must be provided. The 4-foot rule applies, but is not limited to open-sided floors or platforms, runways, wall openings. For the most part, fall protection can be provided by a standard railing consisting of a railing, a mid-rail, and a post. Height from the upper surface of the top rail to floor level should be 42 inches. The mid-rail height is 21 inches, and the ends of the rails should not overhang the terminal posts. Wherever there is the risk of tools, machine parts, or equipment falling to a lower level, toe boards must be provided. Toe boards should be 4 inches high, with no more than 1/4 inch clearance above the floor. Regardless of height, all open-sided floors, walkways, platforms and/or runways above or adjacent to dangerous equipment must be guarded with a standard railing and toe board. All floor openings measuring 12 inches or more in its least dimension should be covered or guarded to prevent people from falling or stepping into the area and/or materials from falling into the area. Floor openings include the following: skylights, stairways, ladderways, hatchways, pit and trap doors, manholes, and temporary floor coverings. Every floor hole should also be guarded by either a standard railing with toe board or be covered by a cover of sufficient strength and construction. OSHA construction requirements are based on systems and procedures designed to prevent employees from falling off, onto, or through working levels, and to protect employees from being struck by falling objects. Construction employers are mandated to protect employees from fall hazards and falling objects whenever the employee is 6 feet or more above a lower level or exposed when working under a level that is 6 feet or more above the working level the employee is on. Employers must provide protection for employees who are exposed to the hazard of falling into dangerous equipment, regardless of the height. It is the employer's responsibility to determine if the walking or working surface has the structural strength to support employees and their tools safely before employees can begin work. Once the employer has determined that the surface is safe to work on, they must provide appropriate fall protection if a fall hazard is present. Areas and/or activities where fall protection is needed and the type of protection required includes, but is not limited to, unprotected sides and edges require the use of guardrail, safety net, or a personal fall arrest system, PFAS. Leading edge work requires the use of guardrail, safety net, or PFAS. When it is infeasible to use fall protection, or it creates a greater hazard to use these systems, an employer may develop and implement a fall protection plan. Holes, including skylights, require the use of PFAS, covers, or guardrails. Formwork and reinforcing steel require the use of PFAS, safety net, or positioning device systems. Ramps, runways, and other walkways should be protected by guardrails. Excavations must be protected with guardrails, fences, barricades, or covers. Bricklaying and related work should have a guardrail, safety net, PFAS, or a controlled access zone. Roofing work on low-slope roofs can use guardrail, safety nets, PFAS, or a combination of a warning line system, guardrail system, safety net system, PFAS, or safety monitoring system. Roofs less than 50 feet in width may use a safety monitoring system by itself. Residential construction requires the use of a guardrail, safety net, or PFAS. When it is infeasible to use these methods, or it creates a greater hazard to use these systems, an employer may develop and implement a fall protection plan. Wall openings should be protected by using guardrail, safety net, or PFAS. To protect employees from falling objects, employers must ensure employees wear hard hats and have properly designed toe boards, screens, or a guardrail system. As an alternative, the employee can erect a canopy or barricade the area where objects could fall. OSHA requirements for guardrails are that the top rail must be between 39 and 45 inches above the walking surface, be at least 1/4 inch thick, and be able to withstand a force of at least 200 pounds applied within 2 inches of the top edge in any outward or downward direction at any point along the rail. If cable is used as a top rail, it must be flagged at not more than 6 feet intervals with a high visibility material. The mid-rail must be 1/2 the distance from the walking surface to the top of the top rail and be at least 1/4 inch thick. Intermediate members, mid-rails, and screens must be able to withstand 150 pounds of pressure in any outward or downward direction. Surfaces of guardrails must be smooth. Rails should not extend past a terminal post. Guardrails around access areas must have gates, or the point of access must be offset to prevent accidental walking into the area. The gate should be in place at all times, except when access area is being used. Safety net systems are to be installed as close as practical under the walking working surface and never more than 30 feet below such levels. Maximum size of each net mesh opening must not be longer than 6 inches on any side. Nets must have a border rope for webbing with a minimum breaking strength of 5,000 pounds. Once installed, safety nets must be drop tested at the job site. Nets should be inspected weekly for wear, damage, and/or deterioration. Defective net components should be removed from service. Remove any object, such as debris or tools, from a safety net as soon as possible. Covers should be used to keep employees from falling through holes in walking, work surfaces, and be able to support at least twice the axle weight of the largest vehicle that might drive over the cover, and at least 2 times the weight of employees, equipment, and materials that may be imposed on the cover at any one time. A cover should be well secured to prevent accidental movement and be marked with the word hole or cover. OSHA defines Personal Fall Arrest System, PFAS, as a system used to arrest an employee in a fall from a working level. Each component of the system must be able to withstand the amount of impact forces involved with stopping an employee that is falling. The farther an employee falls, the greater the force needed to stop them. PFAS must limit the maximum arresting force on an employee to 1,800 pounds. One must rig the PFAS so that an employee cannot free fall more than 6 feet nor contact any lower level. An employee must come to a complete stop and limit the deceleration distance to 3.5 feet. A PFAS must have sufficient strength to withstand twice the potential impact energy of an employee free falling a maximum distance of 6 feet, or the free fall distance permitted by the system, whichever is less. Always inspect PFAS prior to use and remove defective components. Use, store, and replace PFAS according to manufacturer's guidelines. Never attach PFAS to guardrails, hoists, or roof edges, or in areas that can cause an employee to swing. Only tie off to properly approved anchorages. PFASs consist of anchorage points, body harness, lanyards, lifelines, and connectors. Anchorage, a secure point of attachment for lifelines, lanyards, or deceleration devices. Anchorages used for attachment of PFA equipment must be independent of any anchorage being used to support or suspend platforms. An anchorage must be capable of supporting 5,000 pounds per employee attached, or be designed, installed, and used as part of a complete PFAS, which maintains a safety factor of at least 2 and under the supervision of a qualified person. A qualified person is defined as one with a recognized degree or professional certificate and extensive knowledge and experience in the subject field, who is capable of design, analysis, evaluation, and specifications in the subject work project or product. A body harness is the device of straps worn by an employee in a manner that will distribute the fall arrest forces over at least the thighs, pelvis, waist, chest, and shoulders, with means for attaching it to other components of a PFAS. Straps should make an X on the back and should not be twisted. An attachment point should be located in the center of the wearer's back near shoulder level. OSHA limits maximum arresting force on an employee to 1,800 pounds with use of a body harness. Body belts cannot be used as part of a PFAS. The connector is a device which is used to connect parts of the PFAS and positioning devices together. D-rings and snap hooks must have a minimum breaking point of 5,000 pounds. They must be proof tested to a minimum braking load of 3,600 pounds without cracking, breaking, or suffering permanent deformation. Snap hooks must be of the locking type. Unless the snap hook is a locking type and designed for the following connections, they should not be engaged directly to webbing, rope, or wire rope, to each other, to a D-ring to which another snap hook or connector is attached, to a horizontal lifeline, or to any object which is incompatibly shaped or dimensioned such that unintentional disengagement could occur. Lifelines serve as a means for connecting other components of a PFAS to the anchorage. Vertical, flexible line for connection to an anchorage at one end to hang vertically, may only be used by one person and with a rope grab. Horizontal, Flexible line for connection to an anchorage at both ends to stretch horizontally. Can only be used as part of a complete PFAS. Must be designed, installed, and used under the supervision of a qualified person and maintain a safety factor of at least 2. Lanyards. Device for connecting body harness to anchorage point. There are different types of lanyards: shock absorbing, self-retracting, synthetic rope, and synthetic webbing. Each lanyard must be made from synthetic fibers and have a minimum breaking point of 5,000 pounds per employee. Shock absorbing lanyards should include deceleration devices to slow a fall and lower trauma to the body. Self-retracting lifelines have a braking mechanism that is applied when the line is extracted too fast. Calculating total fall distance, TFD, is as necessary and important as using the proper body harness, lanyard, connectors, and anchorage point. The TFD is the distance of the fall from start until completely stopped. Total fall distance, TFD, can be found by using the following equation. TFD equals length of lanyard plus deceleration distance plus height of worker plus safety factor. Lanyards can range from 18 inches to 6 feet. Deceleration distance should be 3.5 feet, the maximum allowed by OSHA. HW is the distance from the D-ring located on the upper back on the body harness to the working level, generally about 4 to 5 feet. A safety factor of at least 2 feet should be used, but 3 feet is suggested. A controlled access zone is a work area designated and clearly marked in which certain types of work may take place without conventional fall protection systems. Only qualified personnel involved in the operation are allowed to enter the zone. Controlled access zones must be defined by a control line or by any other means that restrict access. Control lines should consist of ropes, wires, tapes, or equivalent material, and should be flagged or clearly marked at not more than 6-foot intervals with high visibility material. The lines must have a minimum breaking strength of 200 pounds. Other restrictions and rules apply. Your employer will provide you with necessary information if this type of protection is utilized by your company. Another system of protection is the warning line system, which is used mostly on roofs and is designed to warn a worker that they are approaching an unprotected roof side or edge. The warning line designates an area where roofing work may take place without the use of other fall protection systems. The barrier is a warning line consisting of rope, wire, or chains placed at least 6 feet from leading edge and flagged at 6-foot intervals with high visibility material. Employees are not allowed between the roof edge and warning line unless performing roof work. Employees performing roofing work between the roof edge and warning line must also be protected by guardrails, nets, PFAS, or safety monitoring system. A safety monitoring system is one that utilizes a competent person to monitor the safety of other employees. Employees working in a controlled access zone must comply with the safety monitor. The safety monitor is responsible for the safety of those working within the designated area. The safety monitor must be able to recognize fall hazards and be on the same working level and within sight of employees being monitored. If a hazard appears, or if the employee is acting in an unsafe manner, the monitor must take action by communicating orally with employees. The safety monitor cannot have other responsibilities that would take their attention from monitoring employees. A fall protection plan is only available to employees engaged in leading-edge work, precast concrete erection, or residential construction work where it is infeasible or creates a greater hazard to use conventional fall protection equipment. An employer is required to provide fall protection training to their workers who might be exposed to fall hazards. Employees must be trained to recognize fall hazards and in procedures to follow to minimize hazards. The training must be performed by a competent person who knows the nature of fall hazards in the work area, correct procedures for assembling, maintaining, disassembly, and inspection of fall protection systems to be used, the proper use and operation of all fall protection devices, including fall restraint devices, arresting devices, and any other device that minimizes fall hazards. The role of each employee when implementing the safety monitoring system, the limitations of mechanical equipment during the performance of roof work on low-sloped roofs, correct procedures for handling and storage of equipment used for overhead protection, and the roles of employees in fall protection plans, and the standards regulated by OSHA. Employers must prepare current written certification to show record of each employee trained, and should include name or other identification of employee trained, the date of training, signature of the employer or the person performing the training. Employees should also be retrained when changes to the workplace render previous training obsolete. Changes in the type of fall protection systems or the equipment to be used changes, or the employee's knowledge or use of fall protection systems or equipment indicate that the employee has not retained the required understanding or skill. Falls are a major safety issue, and using the right protection is necessary to ensure your safety. Fall protection must be used when working on any surfaces more than 4 feet above a lower level in general industry and 6 feet in the construction industry. Remember the ABCs of personal fall protection systems: anchorage, body harness, and connectors, and how to use all the components properly. Know the total fall distance when using PFASs. And always take your training seriously. It could save your life.